Whew. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Hey, I know we're a little late today. Things are just the life is lifing, and rather than abandon you like I did yesterday, I decided to go ahead and just be a little late this morning, and so I might be up here by myself. I don't know if the rest of the crew is going to be able to join me or not, but I still wanted to come up here and do some content with you, right? Because we have, I think, 6 more days of live, and this can show you that how even being a business owner, even when you have stuff scheduled, right? Can be a little difficult to kind of do a lot of things because we have competing priorities. So it's not unheard of to, to have to balance a lot. And especially right now, this is really a busy part of the season for us. For tax professionals, bookkeepers, because we're closing out the year, we're getting ready for the new year. We have books and stuff that we have to process for people. And that's why one of the things that I want to talk about today would be documentation. Documentation is truly your defense. And the reason why documentation is your defense is because think about the conversations that you may have as a business owner. When you are dealing with a client that you're unhappy with, or you've purchased something and you're not happy with what you purchased, your documentation is what you go back to. I recently have had this issue. I've been kind of going back and forth with something that I purchased, and I've not received what it is that I wanted, or based upon not only just what I wanted, but what I purchased. Okay. And, I did the thing. I communicated what my desires were, what the expectations were. I scheduled meetings. I sent reminders. I asked for updates. I did all the things. And then that was never reciprocated. I never received anything without, you know, what I call stick. So, ultimately we're in December. We're past the first week of December. That means that if I have stuff I need to do for December, those are not deliverable. I can't do anything. Now I got to go back and pivot once again for like the third or fourth month in a row and do something different. So I think 90 days is kind of long enough to kind of battle stuff. And if you don't get improvement, what can you do? So what I did was I went back and looked at my documentation. And what did it say? It said I was going to be given certain things, priority. It said I might be, I wouldn't be charged any renewal fees. I would have, all this input and all this other stuff. And I know people put stuff up there to market, which is, you know, their problem, not mine. If I say something to you, I'm held to that standard, right? And so if you come to me as a client and you say, hey, I want to do a tax return, and I do the tax return, but, I don't communicate anything else. Was there anything else in the engagement agreement or our contract that said that I had to do something more? So when you look back on anything that you purchase or anything that you sell, you want to look at your documentation. And what does your documentation say to that client? It says to the client what you are offering them, what they can expect, and then what is the solution if there's a problem, right? So this is where I talk to tax clients and say to them, hey, I need you to understand something, okay? When you are operating as a business, when you go out there and you make all this money, I need you to understand you need to document where the money came from, okay? You need to know who it came from and the purpose of you receiving that income. That's why invoices or estimates are so important, because you're giving the description of what it is that they are about to purchase, especially when it comes to services. We often will use invoices and estimates for services. For products, usually the product has some kind of description, right? You've gone to the website, or you've gone to the packaging, or you're in a store, and it could be a gazebo. But on the packaging or the box, it'll tell you the size of the gazebo, how many people need to lift it, how many pounds it is, the weight limits. You get all the information on the packaging. Well, you have to do that with services too. You have to give them a description of what it is that they're getting for their quid pro quo, which is the compensation you're giving them for those services. So when you are operating as a business owner, you want to make sure that your description of the services matches what you deliver. And if they change, did you communicate that change to your client, right? So, and this is where documentation comes to your defense. When you are part of a business and you make purchases as a business owner, your receipt is your documentation. It tells the IRS, your bookkeeper, and anybody else who wants to look at your finances what you purchased, when you purchased it, and if it's not clearly identified what the business purpose is, you may need to include something on that, right? And so those are going to be some of the things that we're going to be teaching you, okay, come January 1st. We have a little surprise that we'll be offering to you guys at the end of this live session in about 7 days. And some of you guys will be the first people to take advantage of it. And so when you have clear, specific details, then it's easy for people to see what they're going to get, when they're going to get it. But if you do not live up to your details, then you may enter into an area where we call breach of agreement, right? Or breach of contract. I'm not an attorney and I don't play one on Facebook, so I'm not giving any legal advice. This is my layperson understanding of what happens in business, right? So once you document what it is that you've asked for, what you put in clear expectations, and then you have not received those items, a client comes to you, you said you were going to paint their room. You painted the room, the client's not happy with how it came out. What did your agreement say? Did it say you were going to do a professional job? Was it a DIY kind of a situation? What was the expectation for the client? And so then the client can come back and say, well, you know what? I had a more professional expectation based upon other services I have seen you provide. Like your portfolio says to them, this is the quality you can expect from me. Okay. And that's why oftentimes people will ask to see references or your work. They want to see what kind of quality can they expect. Now, if the person doesn't receive that kind of quality, what is your repair? What is your solution? What can you do? Well, you can talk to them and say, what can I do to get this level of quality? What should I have done differently? Okay. And that's where communication is so important. Also, if you have a client or if you are in a situation where you made purchases and, the IRS wants to know, well, why do you have this item? This is not ordinary necessary for your business. You want to be able to have documentation to show why you made that purchase and how it's going to be utilized in your business. There was, sometimes, again, bookkeepers, tax professionals will disagree. Not too long ago, right before the holiday, we were having a discussion about, is clothing deductible? Okay, is clothing deductible? You will hear me say it once. You will hear me talk about it often enough. Clothing is not deductible. Okay, personal clothing is not deductible. Anything that can be worn for personal purposes is not a deduction any longer, right? However, this is a branded embroidered shirt. Okay, so when I wear this, I am operating as my business owner. Okay, I am operating in my business. Now, this particular shirt is a deduction because it has a business purpose. It has my business name up here and the services we provide. On my other shirts, my newer ones, they have my name on this side. I don't know why I didn't do it on all my dress shirts, but maybe I didn't want to walk around with a name tag or something like that. But I will do my next ones. I think my polos all have my name on the other side. That's right. So these are some of the things that we run across, right? And this is why I often want to communicate with clients about expectations. What did you document? What was their expectation? And then what did you deliver? And the same thing would go to the IRS. What did you say that you were doing as a business? How does this purchase support that business? And then is it considered ordinary and necessary? And so that's why you having a receipt for your purchases are so important. It's not just because somebody wants to be able to go through all your business and deal with, and know what's going on with you. They're really trying to identify, are these purchases for business purposes and what category should they be in? So if you are a business owner, please take this very, very seriously. Okay. Please understand that no matter where you buy something for your business, that receipt, that invoice, that estimate that you receive is a requirement to maintain that document. So here are some tips that I use to help me sort through a lot of that paperwork, right? I'm a digital girl. I'm a virtual platform. I don't like paper. You don't see any paper. Well, you see a little paper. Some of this is mail. Some of this I can't avoid because I have to mail some tax returns to clients so they can sign them and file them, right? So every once in a while, paper comes out. But as a rule, I don't deal with paper. So how do I manage that? I use my cell phone. My cell phone is the best way for me to manage my business. I take pictures of all my documents and then I hold on to them, I label them, and then I go, oh, label. I have a folder that is for business purposes where I can put all my stuff. And that's how I'm able to successfully manage that. Okay. And so if you are somebody who, is in the same situation and you want to know how to manage your business with business expenses and documentation, I honestly will tell you to do a couple different things. For some people, they want paper, they want it organized. I will tell you to get 12 envelopes and put your receipts in there by month. And then on the receipts, if they're for meals, for business clients, you want to have those little stickers or those little screenshots that I share with you, or even just a Post-it note that said who attended that meal. Okay. It's very important that you document this. Okay. And that's what we mean by documentation is your defense. Meals are only expensed at 50%. And if you want the 50% that you're eligible for, then you have to document the purpose of that business meal. It is not considered ordinary and necessary that you need to feed yourself while you're at home. It is expected that people eat, right? But that's not a business deduction. The only meals that are deductible are those with potential clients or current clients or with your business staff. Okay. So again, that's why documentation is so important. The other thing you want to keep for documentation are your bank statements and bank records. A lot of us have banks online, and so we keep everything online and we don't print down a copy of it. Not a problem. Most of us have some kind of cloud service, whether it be Amazon Web Services, whether it be Google, whether it be Apple, whether it be OneDrive. Most of us have some kind of cloud platform. Take and create a folder for your business and then create a folder for the year and then create a folder for the month. And then anytime you make a purchase or you have documents, put them in the folder. Okay, so that when it comes time to provide that to the IRS, you have clear documented receipts, invoices, and notes to return to. What's really funny is most people have watched the documentary that is on called The Reckoning that 50 Cent put out about Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs. And everyone's really surprised, and there's a lot of cease and desist going on, and there's a lot of chatter on Beyonce's internet. And the reason why there's so much chatter going on, because it's clear that he was in the presence of someone he trusted, okay? But what you will also know is that his business partner and Bad Boy had very exceptional documentation. He documented every day, everything he did. And as a result of that, has a lawsuit that may be able to have him go after assets of Bad Boy because of the documentation that he had on Sean Combs. This is why you having some kind of journal or log is always going to trump somebody's memory. I don't try to remember stuff, I just write it down. And then I make sure that, for business purposes, I identify who, the what, the when, and the why. So if you're not a person that is accustomed to keeping a journal, then do it in your calendar. There are a lot of calendar apps out there that will let you document stuff of what happened. And that way you have documentation. But for me, I like good old pen to paper. Okay. I want to be able to go into my journal and look at my documentation. And this is my Hobonichi Techno cousin for 2025. It's got my little charm up here, all the things. So, and this is what I use during the week. And this is the cover. So, and then I got my little tabs here, right? So this is the one I have for 2025. And then I have all my documentation in here, right? So this is what I keep track of. So this is how we're able to track what goes on, right? It's because I have my documentation. And so if you didn't document it, it's a rule my daddy used to say to me all the time, if you didn't document it, you didn't do it. So if you are ever in a situation where you need to prove what was done or what was not done, or what was said or what was not said, then you need to document it, okay? You need to have some kind of proof. And I think every business owner, this should be mandatory. If you operate a business, you should have a day planner. I don't care what kind of day planner. I used to have a real fancy one like this. And look, I'm dusting it off because that's how long it's been since I've used it. Okay, because this is the one I used to take out the house with me. So this is, a planner. It's got so much dust up here, it's not even funny. Okay, this is the planner, right? It doesn't have to be this fancy, okay? But again, it's holding on to records, right? Notes. This is a calendar. It lets me keep track of. And clearly I didn't use it the last year that I had it because this is 2020. And we know what happened that year. But this, again, is documentation. And, this company, I love this company, right? I love, love, love this company. But at the end of the day, I stopped using a leather bound binder because I was in a house. I didn't need to go places. I wasn't outside as much. So I didn't need something that was as portable because I'm in the house. So this planner, I still have it. And if I decide to go back to it, which I probably will, I kind of pivot every now and again. This is an opportunity, right, for me to go ahead and utilize this, right? So this is one of the things that we can do to help make our lives easier, is to have a planner. There's all kind of journals, right? There's little small journals you can keep. If you just want to write simple notes, but get yourself some kind of planner so that you have a way to specifically identify things that occurred in your business so that you're not relying on your mind, okay? Even you big burly construction workers out there, I see you with the planners. I see you with the 8x11s with the clipboard inside. You can get them by the month. You can get them for 6 months at a time, or you can get them for the year if if the size is comfortable for you. But you need to have something that documents everything you do in your business every day. Who you met with, where you went, what was the purpose of it, so on and so forth. So when you sit down with your bookkeeper, your accountant, your CPA, your tax professional, and the IRS, you have a clear, defined, specific record of what you did in your business. And if they were to say, well, you have a receipt for April 17th, what did you do April 17th? Well, I don't know, because I don't know. So let me go pull up April. Let me see, do I have anything for April 17th? And I just pulled that date out of my head. Okay, let me see. Okay, so April 17th was a Thursday. And on that Thursday, I met with Relax Tax Services, had a meeting, but they canceled. And I met with K-Neal Services at 4 o'clock. I also talked to them about a nonprofit, keeping track of expenses for board members, tracking meetings and tutoring meals, and providing shortcuts inside of bookkeeping. I also provided expense reports for mileage reimbursement and created a business expense report so that when they meet with the board, they can share that with their clients. I also did training from 6:30 to 8:30, confirmed training, and then we did a Q&A session for an hour and a half after. And as a result of that Q&A session, I had a total of 19 attendees for that particular training class. So if I were to sit in front of the IRS and they were to ask me what I did on a specific date, I have details. Okay, I have specific details of who I met with, what was the purpose of the meeting, and whether or not I traveled or not. Okay, and I just pulled that date just out of the hat. I didn't know what April 17th was. I didn't know if there was a meeting. It could have been a Saturday for all I knew. Okay, but the reason why I just said that is because clear, defined notes will save you every single time. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be in some kind of perfect handwriting and all this other stuff. They don't have to be color coded. They just need to be documented. And if you want to understand why this is important, again, it goes back to providing those solutions not only to your business partners, if you have some, but also to your bookkeeper, your accountant, your CPA, and the IRS or the Department of Revenue should they ask for records. Okay, I am comfortable and assured that if someone were to ask me to provide them what I did on a certain day, that I have a record of it. Okay, how assured are you? How confident are you that if the IRS asked you to document what you did for 1 month out of all 12 months of the year, that you could provide them a record of who you saw for your business, what you purchased for your business, and the business purpose? Okay, if you do not have that level of confidence, then you need to change how you operate your business. You need to tighten it up. You need to invest in a planner or just a notebook and put the date on it, write down everything that happened that day, turn the page, and the next day, write the next date. It doesn't have to be a Hobonichi Techno cousin. It doesn't have to be this specific. You don't have to get the matching cover, and you don't have to have the stickers and the color codes and the tabs and all the other stuff that I do. That's just me being extra. Okay, that's just me. But you do need to have a documented record of what you do in your business. Okay. And so if you want to learn more, like I said, we'll be doing an offer for some of you guys pretty soon. So I hope you watch until the end of the series, and so that you can understand exactly what we're going to be doing on the last day of the series. And so if you want to know, today is Thursday, right? So what did I do yesterday? Well, I had a 7 a.m. meeting with a client. I had an 8 a.m. call to the IRS for that particular client. I also had a 10 a.m. meeting with with part of my management team. Okay. I also had a 12:30 to 2:30 meeting with Prime Tax Strategies. We reviewed the bookkeeping of one of their clients. We also did some one-on-one transactional and receipt reviews. And she walked away feeling like she was in a better place for those transactions. Also, we reviewed her bringing on board a new PTIN professional and what their responsibilities would be. And then I had an opportunity to take a break. I did some additional follow-up phone calls for 3 more clients. I also had a meeting at 4 o'clock with Roots and Rise. And we discussed several of their clients, bookkeeping, and some issues with transactional and reconciling, and also what to do as far as bringing on a new PE professional. And then I had a meeting at 6:15 for an hour with a client, and I advise them to upload their new tax letters into their portal, and that we will move on to the next step for their business to see if they need a referral out for an offer in compromise. And then after that, I did some organization in the office. I reviewed a couple of my funnel sales pages in analytics. And then I took a well-deserved shower and took my black ass to bed. Okay. So guys, documentation. You don't have to be as detailed as I am, but I'm a detail focused person. I freak out when I don't know the details, and I freak out when I don't write them down. So when you didn't hear me say I did a live yesterday. I actually have in my notes for yesterday, day 24 of 30, no live. That means today is day 24 of 30 because I'm not going to skip it. I'm going to make today 24 of 30. And I did the live, but I did the live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of at 9 a.m. So that means that, boom, I've got that documented, okay? And so when you have these conversations and you have this kind of documentation, it helps you because no one can dispute what you've written down. They have to prove it. How can they prove it? Okay, so you documenting helps only you. It doesn't hurt you. Okay, unless you murdered somebody and you wrote it down on a piece of paper, well, then that's going to hurt you. But the person that was part of Bad Boy Entertainment, the person that was his partner that nobody knew about, because everywhere I looked, no one had a clue that Puffy had given that there was even a partner in that business. He had it documented, and they showed it in the documentary. I can't speak today. They showed it in the documentary. His notes, guys, that is going to trump all things. Okay, that is going to trump all things. So get used to it. Get you a planner, get you a notebook, start documenting what you do in your business. I promise you, you won't regret it. All right. And that's today's session of It's None of Your Business. All right. I look forward to being back here with you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If there's something that you want us to talk about before the end of this series, please feel free to leave a comment. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're watching this live, go ahead and do a hashtag live for me. If you're watching this as a replay, please do hashtag replay. And as always, thank you for being the best part of my day. I appreciate you spending some time with us this morning, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye, 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 bye.